If you're impulsive and you're feeding every want, you've actually drifted into selfishness, because that means you're no longer intentional. And again, that point between the two is intention. Being selfish is unintentional. Being selfish is being mindless and doing things and making decisions on the fly without really giving thought as to what's best for you first. And number two, the biggest difference between self-care and being selfish is taking away from others, whereas self-care actually, it brings you closer to others. When you're taking care of yourself and you're making yourself a priority, you've managed your day, you say no, you set boundaries, you stick to them, you intentionally have time for the things that you want to do, you make sure that your needs and your wants are met first, and that builds you up in such a positive way that when you go to then eventually help other people, you're not coming from that half full cup or that lack mentality. Because coming from that place is selfish. It then breeds resentment, and it causes a whole host of problems. So again, we're going back and forth between being selfish is taking you away from other people. It's saying, me, only me first, nobody else. And self-care is saying, me first, so I can be the best me, so that I can then help others. It's a whole different mindset. The third major difference between self-care and being selfish is that being selfish will equal guilt and shame, whereas self-care is going to equal confidence and power. And what I mean by that is, for example, when you're being selfish and somebody asks you to do something for them, you have no intention of self-care and there's no reason you can't help them. So you make up a lie and say, I can't, the kids are sick, because you just don't want to do it. You're feeling like, you know what, I want to do my own thing. Well, if after making that decision, and of course lying, which is always going to make you feel bad, you're going to experience that guilt and shame. And your internal barometer should be situated so that you can tell the difference between when you feel good about a decision and when you don't. Because when you choose self-care and then you tell someone no, you feel confident. You know that you saying no is saving them from a bunch of bullshit. And it puts you in a place of power, that you have choice. If you didn't get a chance to listen to last week's episode, I talk a lot about the choice of self-care. You have to make the choice to do self-care, set that intention, and then follow through. And as a result, you will feel more confident. You will start to do that as a default, which is going to create an entirely different dynamic when it comes to helping other people. Now, I just want to wrap up today with one quick thought, that most of the listeners of this podcast are people who give too much of themselves to others and don't take care of themselves. And that actually makes us some of the most selfish people ever. I know that's not fun to hear, but because when we choose to put others first, it creates an imbalance within us. And I know you can feel it because you're listening to a podcast to help you remember that self-care is sexy. And that imbalance can bleed into and create havoc in all the areas of your life. And whether it's codependency or people-pleasing or just being overly helpful, it is our personal responsibility to cultivate this new, more self-loving mindset any way that we can in order to actually restore ourselves to balance and be less dramatic to those we serve. And let's all talk about that. You need to be choosy about who you decide to serve. Not everyone gets the best of you. And no one, not your partner, your children, or family, or your best friends, should get the best of you if you're not giving that to yourself first. So if you feel like you might be a little selfish, make sure it's not because you aren't managing your own boundaries and self-care. All right, friends, that's it for this week. Thank you for joining me. If you have a story you'd like to share and you want to be on the show, please email me. It's Chris, Kris, at selfcareissexy.com. Okay, we've got some really great content coming your way, so stay tuned. And remember that self-care is sexy. We're giving you permission to put yourself first.